Righto, so today we'll take a look at putting the I in BIMs. It's the information. Normally, we quite often just modelling away and all we're doing is worrying about what the building looks like and shape and colours and things like that. So we're basically just CAD designing. So we want to be getting to the stage where we're using the information to be able to make informed decisions, design decisions, and sort of take the building process or make it more efficient for all involved. So one way that Archicad has made that easier to do is with things called classifications and properties. So does everyone know what they are? You see, you've sort of played around with them a wee bit. Yeah. So where are we here? So these are found up here, property manager and classification manager. So the property manager is where we can set all sorts of information that's going to go into our object or element, depending on what it is. This one here is already set up with a whole lot of properties. So if we were to take one, for instance, say this fire resistance rating. So we can then set this property up to be able to tell us what our fire resistance rating options are. So in this instance here, it's set up for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, up to 3 hours. So they are multiple choice ones. So if it's sort of an element which you're going to be choosing, which only has options, well, we should have these things set up as an option list. If it's something that could be anything, well, then we would change this data type to just a string, say. So that could mean then we can just type in whatever we want in there. Okay, this one I should see. Hold on. Just go back to that. So there's options here. We can also have like just true and false commands as well. So if it's something that's present in the operator or in the element, so instance there, well, whether it's part of the contract or not, maybe. So sometimes you showing stuff on the plan. You could then say like furniture and stuff. You could have a in contract option. So if it's in contract, you make it true. If it's out of the contract, you make it false. So that later on, when you go and create some schedules of furniture and fittings, you can then just find the furniture that's involved in the contract rather than all of the furniture you've placed there to make it look okay. Include numbers. Always one with a number. So this one here, the purchase price. So that's been set as a number. So obviously, that's going to be whatever you enter it is. And then that data, as it's a number, can then be taken later on and used in calculations and stuff like that. So you could then start sort of like furniture. Say again, if you entered a price for a chair and a table or whatever else, you could then go through quickly later on and work out what the budget is. So if you've got a budget of $1 million for furniture and it's, as you added it, you've got your schedule sitting there and it's showing you that it's $1.5 million, you've got to find something or to reduce or twist the client's arm for some more money. Other things, we can go into all sorts of data like, the manufacturer, so we know where to find that product, product website. So, if it's a particular type of chair, we know exactly where to link to on the internet to find it. Some of these things are probably not so important straight away in the design phase, but they might come into play later on, say in the construction phase or in the facility management stage after we've handed over the BIM model, so that whoever's managing the building knows that the chairs or the doors or the windows have come from a certain supplier, so that if something goes wrong, they can quickly find out where they're from. So that's sort of the basis of the property manager itself and what you can do with it. Now, once you set these up, you then can set them up to only apply to certain things within the project. So, for instance, fire rating, you don't want that to be showing up for like furniture or sanitary ware or things like that. So you only want that to be showing up for like things like walls and ceilings and floors, structural elements that are going to be used for stopping fire. So if we actually go back up to fire resistance rating. So we can then come down to this tab here, the availability for classifications, and then choose in here what classifications we are going to assign it to. I suppose if we step one step back, then to go to the classification manager. Oh, here we are. So this is the classification manager, and this is the Archicad one itself. So it's broken down into sort of basic structural elements and finishing elements and things like that. So you would assign an element. Every time you placed an element, you should be choosing a classification type for it so that it can then start using all the data that has been assigned to be able to be used for that item. So if it is furniture, you would come in here and choose, furniture or system furniture. There is also a Tallo 2000 classification for the finish system. And I think there are other ones as well, like Kobe and some other international BIM standard ones. So if you've got more than one, or if we're using more than one on a project, you probably should choose one out of each category. So if there's an Archicad classification, you should choose one of those. And if there's a Tallo 2000 one, you should choose one of those as well. That's not going to cause any issues. So once those, so now you know what the classifications themselves are, is if we now go back to the property manager. So you're now, when you have a property, looking to assign it to different elements of classification. So you can choose to put it to all elements if you wanted. So that would be something pretty general, like, notes or something like that. For some reason, you could assign it to none. And then there's the custom one, which if you come in here and edit, allows you then to work through the whole list of different options and tell it which particular ones you want that to show up on. So once you've done that, so like this fire rating, or fire resistance rating property will show up for all elements that's rated or classified as any of those things there. So if we go OK, so now to see where they are, so if we choose, say, this wall, whoops. We choose this wall here, and we come into classifications and properties. We can come in here and see that it's classified as a wall, so that now we have all of these properties showing up which apply to a wall. So we can come through here and tell it what it is. So basically that was actually locked. And so now to unlock, you can do the little unlock thing here, and we can choose true or false if it's a combustible wall or not. So if say it was a timber frame wall, we can turn that on to true. Little transmittance, what have we got here? So we can put a, what we would call an R value in New Zealand, we call it a U value in this part of the thing. Yeah. So you can put a thermal transmittance value in there. What's a typical wall in U? It wasn't a trick question.
I know.
I will put you too.
Yeah.
And sound transmission. So you can go through and work through all this information and add it to each of these elements. In Archicad 22 as well, I haven't actually explored this in depth myself, so I'm not going to try and offer too much advice on how this one works yet. But it actually allows us to enter sort of information here like brick sizes for floors, so tile sizes. So when you've got different tile sizes and shapes, so a height and a width and a thickness for the mortar, and then you can go on and do quick calculations for quantities of bricks and tiles and things like that based on what you've placed here. So if you've got like your ceiling tiles which have various different sizes at times, we can enter different ones in here and it will quickly calculate those once you have the schedule set up. Go there. And so we've already sort of discussed previously, with some of you will probably in here, with about scheduling and how scheduling then takes in some of these classifications and how we manage them in there, so I'm not going to go into that here. And the other thing that these classifications are real handy for is using for graphic overrides as well. So like that one there where we just set that wall to combustible, so just try and, where are we, graphic overrides. So just say we were trying to quickly see what walls are combustible and which ones are not. Maybe we have to take some action to protect some of them or something. We could then come in here and create a graphic override. Combustible walls. Okay. And we want to add a rule. There's not one in there. So if we say change to red, and then edit our rule. So now it's going to ask us what we're looking for. So just say, actually I should see the elements to red. So we'll make anything that's combustible red. So we'll go all types of elements, and then we come down here to properties. We choose combustible, and we can say is true, and then we want to maybe just turn them red. Oops. Okay, our pin set's funny, so we'll just make them orange for now. And in 3D, we'll make them go red. Yeah, okay. I'll just quickly see if I can change my pin sets. There we go, and red. So you see now that wall's changed to red. So we know there's something, that wall's different, or it's fitting the parameters of what we were looking for. So then we can do whatever we need to do that. So you can set up all sorts of these graphic overrides to look for all sorts of things. So things like finding particular things in a project based on certain criteria, checking things, so making sure that things have been done properly. So if you are meant to be classifying stuff and you want to make sure that you have been, or that who's been working on the project has been, you can set up a classification to make sure that certain things, certain data has been entered into certain places, or certain criteria have been met. So then it will show up stuff that's not done as red or blue or green or whatever you've set it as, and then you can go in and fix all that stuff up. So that's really just a basic rundown on classifications and properties. So hopefully there was something in there that was useful. And remember too that these are things that we should be using on a regular basis. It's not something that is there that someone will come through and fix up later on. You should be trying to get it right at the first time, and then it sort of carries through. So if you set up a wall correctly to start, next time you place a wall, it should then just sort of inherit those parameters, and you only have to change the ones that need to change, and then you carry on rather than just avoiding them altogether and then coming back later on and trying to fix it. But that said, they are reasonably easy to fix up with things like schedules as well. So like all this data, you can pull up a schedule and it'll show you all the things that you want to see, which you can then go through the schedule and change in there as well. So yeah, so again, that's sort of double work as well. So try and get it right. And, yeah. So hopefully you can use properties and classifications and get more out of your project. Cheers.